Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Count down to 1 minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And here we go again, another edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So ride along with me this hour, and I will share some 48 years of knowledge and OJT, you might call that, as well as all of the official training classes, many training classes I've had in the days when I was with Ford Motor Company. Service manager for a Lincoln Mercury dealership in my early days, and then decided to open up my own facility, and which turned out to be a really good decision. So we all make good and bad decisions, but that turned out to be a really good one. And then somewhere along the line, some 28 years ago, we decided, well, let's do radio. And so now it's morphed from radio into Radio Plus, and the plus means that we're global cast at Watch Bobby Live. I invite you to tune in. Hannah will take your call at 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you today by O'Reilly Auto Parts. If you're doing a repair that needs a special tool, O'Reilly Auto Parts makes it easy with their loaner tool program. Over 80 specialized loaner tools are available, folks, and you're sure to have the tool there for you to help you get the job done. You can purchase the needed parts, put down a deposit on the loaner tool, so you don't have to buy this tool like we. Return the tool in the original condition and receive a full refund. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Your calls at 888 Car Clinic. When I come back, like us, you'll love us. If your vehicle's a little sluggish, try Berryman's B12 Chem Tool. Using HEST or high-energy solvent technology, Berryman's B12 Chem Tool dissolves gum, varnish, and carbon deposits in the fuel system, which help restore lost power and peak performance. But don't take our word for it. Richard M's 99 Acura had 200,000 miles and was idling roughly. He put a bottle of Berryman B12 Chem Tool, and the idle smoothed out, and the car ran noticeably better. Learn more about Berryman B12 Chem Tool and other great products at berrymanproducts.com. Insurance 101, courtesy of Grundy Insurance. Coverage gaps, holes in your vehicle insurance that leave you lacking necessary protection. Grundy's MVP, or motor vehicle program, provides coverage for both collectors and daily drivers on one policy, both with agreed value coverage. Grundy's MVP consolidates your exposures and offers broader coverage with equal policy limits, agreed value, and an added 150% valuation clause. See the Insurance 101 section at Grundy.com. Talking tunes! No, not the ones on your radio. The ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer without even popping the hood. The result is more power, more torque, and a better overall driving experience. We recently sat down with Jim McGinn, Vice President of Marketing for Power Tech. Jim touched on another benefit associated with automotive tuning and efficiency. Let's hear how tuning your vehicle can lead to increased fuel economy.
Superchips tuning essentially increases your vehicle's timing. It allows the truck or the car, the SUV, Jeep to run in a higher gear, and it improves the process which we call atomization, which is essentially it turns bulk liquid into spray, and when you achieve this, you increase fuel pressure and you increase your fuel economy. So as a result, you can run the vehicle in a higher gear with advanced timing, and you get a more complete burn. We've done extensive road and dyno testing to validate these claims, and it really impacts the bottom line for the consumer with the Super Chips Flash Pack.
Find your perfect tune at superchips.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, it starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain, oh now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get the show started. We're going to go to David right away. The phone's right away, and so I would urge you to get in earlier than later so that we can have time to discuss your particular issues, or just perhaps you have had a great experience recently with a service shop and you want to tell everyone about it. Whatever is on your automotive mind, you give us a call, 888-227-2546. Go to David. David with an 05 Mercedes. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, Bobby.
Hey, sir.
Hey, it's a 2015 Mercedes.
2015. Okay. Well, Hannah took 10 years. Hannah added 10 years to your car. So,
okay.
How many miles on your 2015 Mercedes?
I just turned over 100,000.
Wow. Well, let's see,
yeah, I
50.
drive a lot.
Yeah, you do drive a lot.
Your first commercial answered my question.
What's that?
That Berriman's B12 or whatever it is, that additive.
Yes, sir.
I heard you talking last week to a gentleman that put it in his car and said it fixed everything. So I was trying to remember the name of it, and I couldn't remember.
Well,
but then I heard your first commercial, and I know what it was now.
Well, Berriman's really been I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So, David, Berriman's been a product that we've used in our service shop for years, 30 years. In fact, as I remember and I recall, we don't really, talk about much about that anymore, but the Berriman automatic transmission additive was a Chrysler-approved additive. So if you went to Chrysler, this is, several years ago, and got an additive for the transmission fluid, it would be the Berriman product. And as I remember, that's where my first introduction to Berriman was, because I was so surprised that with all these other additives on the market, and also when you get an owner's manual, it will tell you with regard to like fuel additives or, in the additives, don't use them. For instance, when I bought my Viper, it says do not use an engine oil additive. Well, of course, I was using an additive. Plus, I was using synthetic oil, which I already really didn't need the additive, so it was an overkill, but that was okay. I wanted to really, make sure that the engine didn't wear sooner than later. The bottom line, I was reading the owner's manual, David, and folks in the Viper owner's manual said do not use engine oil additives. But if you decide to use engine oil, make sure it is Chrysler's engine, and it gave the name of the Chrysler oil additive, just as manufacturers, in fact, years ago, GM says no more transmission services. Ford came out with 150,000 mile transmission fluid, and yet when like GM says no transmission services, well, but they only guarantee the transmission 50,000 miles. So how does that work? And the bottom line, when you buy, or not when you buy, every year when they come out with new cars, like 2018, 2019, every franchised automotive dealer in the United States and worldwide has to purchase from the seller, the OEM, the maker of the car, the special tools to work on that year's car, because they change the designs and what have you. So in that catalog of special tools, required to be purchased by the selling dealers from the OEMs, there's a listing of optional tools that are available. And in GM's optional tool, there was a transmission service machine. So, and the left hand is saying, don't change the fluid, and the right hand is saying, for you dealers that change fluid, here's that. And those are facts. And so it's some of it's, a lot of it's marketing and what have you. But the bottom line, no fluid will live forever. And power steering is one of the least, it gets the least attention out of all the fluids in the car, power steering. And you can take your Mercedes, in fact, do this afternoon just for grins, with of course the engine shut off, and up to operating temperature, or 5 minutes of running. Just pull the power steering cap. If your car has it's not electric steering, but pull the power steering cap and smell the fluid in the reservoir, and you'll see it's burned. I mean, 50,000 miles is the limit on power steering fluid, and I monitor that very closely on my car. And the water pump on my car went out at 49,000, and we had already serviced the transmission and the fluids at 35,000 to get ahead of the program. And lo and behold, the reservoir, we had to move out of the way, and Johnny Bars, our master ASE technician, took the reservoir off to get to the water pump and the new hose design that we were updating the car. And the reservoir was black, had a coating of black on the inside, which is just, whatever it accumulates in those systems. But anyway, so the B12 is a great, but if you're going to use additives, Berryman, you should go to berrymanproducts.com and look at all their products. If you're going to use not only the oil or the fuel additive, but there are other additives that you need to know about there. Any other questions? And I appreciate your call.
No, that took care of it. I really appreciate that, Bobby. I'll call you again if I have another problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. So, Miss Hannah, you put 10 years. That's so funny. People are really, well, I guess I'm the same way. Although I have this aged 1980 VSOC or YSOC Mercedes Porsche that I've had for a long time, and I use that's one I talk about, folks, that I use the charger. It's a computer control charger, and the newest one that I've found that I really like with regard to taking care of my car that I don't drive often is a Digital 400 Optima charger. And the Optima batteries, of course, there's an Optima battery that I put in the Viper that was hard access, so you don't have to worry about the position or the vibrations or checking the fluid, because it's an AGM, which is an absorbent glass mat battery, so there's no spillage there. Like ATVs, all the ATVs use those things, and a lot of lawnmowers and a lot of cars, and for updating. In my car, my Jaguar, I went with the AGM battery when the original equipment battery failed in less than 4 years. Really? How does that? And I had a Chrysler, Town and Country, that the battery failed in 15 months. Let's see, was it 15? Yeah, it was 15 months. And so I put a good battery in it. Of course, if you're an OEM and if you're making 1 million cars a year and you're buying 1 million batteries, and you can save 75 cents on, or $1 or whatever, I don't know what that in that mass. It's very interesting. Oh, speaking of interesting, and speaking of for you, next week we'll be giving away a Super Chips Flash Pack F5. And if you recall, I recently super tuned an F250 diesel truck for one of our local customers, Neil. And we are blown away, literally blown away by the F5 Flash Pack and the power that it added to the diesel. And just as an information, and he's an aggressive driver, goes to the hunting camp almost every weekend, and so he knows the same routes, and he travels from Pensacola to Montgomery or somewhere up there in Alabama. And he got 16.2 is what he always got, 16.2. The next weekend, he picked his truck up on Thursday. That weekend, he went to the hunting camp, and he got 18.2. And so we know that adds a tremendous amount of power, but the Flash Pack is terrific. It's got a high definition 2.8-inch color screen with easy navigation, active fuel management control, high-speed processor. Now, this is a unit I'm going to be giving away next week. This is not a trivial pursuit here. Tuning for shift points, shift firmness, which I wish I could control in my luxury car, and torque management, the speedometer correction if you change the tire size or the gear ratio. It's a flash pack performance programmer that I'll be giving away next week. So whatever you do today, if you got to run errands and just remember that next week you got to tune in, put your name in the hat, and give us a call. And I'll be drawing a name out of the hat at the end of the second hour. So that's going to be 11:55 Eastern Time. I'll be drawing the name, and you don't have to be present to win, but I'd like for you to be. Let's go to Bob in New York. Bob, good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby. Thanks for taking my call. I've called you before on this Ford Focus and the automatic on-off thing, but that's not my question today.
Okay.
I had a run to Philadelphia, and I'm pretty sure it was a tractor-trailer that threw a stone. I got a chip in my new car paint, which is driving me insane. You know, it's something to stare at every time you go out. And I'm wondering, and I've gone to the dealership, gotten a little tube of their touch-up paint, and it's not even close.
No.
And I'm wondering, why is it so difficult to find a touch-up paint that matches correctly?
Well, because the touch-up paint is a bottle of liquid that has color and metallic. I don't know if your car's metallic. Is your car metallic? What color is your car?
My car is a dark metallic gray.
Okay, well, that's the toughest. That is the toughest. Mine's a desert tan called cashmere metallic, and it's impossible to touch up. But I do have some ideas on what I have done to keep from having to paint the whole clip. So stay with me, Bob. I got a hard break, and I'll be back, and we'll go from there. Don't go away, folks. Insurance 101, courtesy of Grundy Insurance. Grundy's agreed value insurance does not deduct for vehicle age or expected wear and tear when evaluating a loss. They know there's a greater likelihood that your collector vehicle's value will increase over time. Grundy also understands the cost to repair or replace your collector car can change. Their collector car policies feature a built-in inflation guard, which in recent years has automatically increased the insured value of one's vehicle by 4%. Learn more at the Insurance 101 section at Grundy.com.
These are the sounds of someone taking their eyes off the road. Texting while driving is more than distracting. It's dangerous. Do us all a favor. When you're on the road, stay off the phone. A message from CTIA, America's wireless companies, and the National Safety Council.
This car repair spotlight brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. This week, a 2011 Smart car came into the shop with 135,000 miles and grinding noises during stopping. Bad brakes? Nope. A road test determined this little Smart car had a bad right front wheel bearing. For such a small car, the noise sounded like an F-250. Johnny Bars, Master ASE certified technician, disassembled both hubs, only to find the bad bearing had also damaged the front brake pad, wearing unevenly. Time for, you guessed it, a call to our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional for new parts. We were worried they might not have Smart car parts, but our O'Reilly Auto Parts professional told us not to worry. If the parts weren't in stock, their team would locate them and deliver them soon as possible. What a great relief that was. The very next day, repair done, vehicle quiet, and Smart car owner safely back on the road. Another great reason why our first call for parts is O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
Higher, 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100.
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Hannah will take your call at 888-227-2546 and put you in a queue, and I will put you on the air. We're talking with Bob from New York about paint chips. So, Bob, that's one of my least favorite events, but my most favorite, I guess, to talk about. I've tried everything that in my years of paint and in the automotive industry and detailing my own car, which, by the way, I detail all my own cars every day personally and have since forever. Here's what I found, and here's the problem with metallic dark paints. When metallic paint is sprayed, first you have multi pigment. Yeah, the pigment of the color, okay, that's one layer, one weight of product. You have the clear coat that's on top, but it's also mixed in the bottle that you have as a carrier, just like you have a fuel additive. Some of the fuel additive is the raw chemical, but it's always packaged in some petroleum liquid that will pour, because you really 2.5 ounces in a little bottle, it's not enough to really get all of that 2.5 ounces of raw chemical down into the engine or into the gas tank. So in the paint touch-up, you've got metallic, and metallic is, as you know, little flakes of shiny, little blades. Well, if you spray them on there, then the blades are all standing up at the same angle. So you've got the blades like grass, like cutting grass. Well, just think about cutting grass. Now that I think of it, look at some golf courses where they cut the grass one way and then they run the lawnmower back the other way, and they make a beautiful pattern. Just like when you vacuum, and if you've seen online when they detail cars, they'll vacuum the carpet. They'll mist the carpet with a little detailer or water, and then they'll pull the vacuum over the width of the vacuum blade, maybe 4 inches, and then move over and 4 inches. So when you're finished, you've got a nice striped pattern. And in some cases, you could run the lawnmower one way and back the other way, and you've got you pull the grain of the carpet up. That's saying you pull the grain of the blades up. The same thing for touch-up paint, and that's why there's no such thing as touch-up paint. And I know that we've seen on television and we've advertised and what have you, but believe you me, if you have any metallic color, you ain't going to touch it up to where and if you're the kind of person that cares about the car, like I and Bob, like you there in New York, that's one of the worst things that can happen. So that first one is always the most difficult to absorb and to live with. So here's what I did. And I bought for like $26 from Jaguar, and my car is a special color. It's cashmere. So it has a lot of flake in it. It is kind of a tan, fawn, platinum, silver, and all the above. It's really quite beautiful. And they don't make that color anymore. So it's a kind of a one-off. So I bought the clear coat, which it is sort of a waste of time because if you can't match the spot, you can put all the clear that you want on it, but you're looking at the spot and it's still going to be there. So what I did was, and what I found was, I put a small drop, and not even a drop, with a little paintbrush of material, a paint, on the spot, and then let it dry. And that's one of the things you have to learn is let it dry, because what it looks like wet, and when you first put it on, it looks like a pimple when you first put it on. But then when the paint dries and shrinks, then the actual chip is deeper then, and it'll be the touch-up will be in a valley. You following what I'm saying?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
And the problem with that is meaning the chip is always on the front side, so it's on the vertical plane. So when you put the little dollop of paint on it, it sags. Now, it'd be great if you could, and I've actually done this, tried to elevate the car. Yeah, I've tried everything. So, you know, I mean, it never gets on the top because, you know, you don't have rocks falling from the top, you know. So the bottom line, what I do after it dries, I determine if I want another coat, you know, if the hole is still there. And if the hole is, say, 50% filled and I got just the right amount of paint, then I take Scotch tape. And let's say that we have a rock chip the size of the plunger of a ballpoint pen. Yeah, that's like a 90 thousandths, let's say. And then I will take the tape and I'll put the tape in a cross pattern so that I've covered the rest of the car's paint and I've got the tape on there, and then I will put the clear coat on top of that. Or if I've got enough paint there and I don't want to clear coat it and the paint looks like it's matching okay, then I will take, and I've got a fingernail, not a file, but Hannah, what are those fingernail brushes, you know, that they're threesome. You've got well, it's not a nail filer, but it's a triangulated block of abrasive that's gray, white, and the other, and then shiny gray. So you want to buff your nails. You start out with a gray, and then you go to the white, and then you go to the real shiny white, which is like a slick finish. So what I do, Bob, is I'll take that fingernail brush and I'll sand over the paint using the really fine part. And what that does is polish the top of only the top surface of where I've touched up the paint. And then when I'm finished, I'll take the tape off. And I did that specifically on the A-pillar of my car on the first dig that dug in there, first rock that chipped that it hit it. So the bottom line, and I still see that every time I get in the car, but you know, nobody else would see those things. So that's what I can do. Now, having said that, 5 years after I bought the car, last year I was at brunch and some ungrateful person broke the left headlight out of my car and scuffed the left paint. They didn't come inside and say, hey, we hit your car. They just hit it and left. And so we had to replace the headlight. And by the way, the headlight was $1,970 because it was a special, you know, lights and all that, yada, yada. So the assembly, and the light was okay, but the lens was broken. And so the insurance company paid for it because I had my deductible. And the paint was scuffed. Luckily, there's a local friend of mine that, in fact, I mentioned him about 3 weeks ago because he passed. We've been friends for 50 years, and his name was Frank Whitfield at West Florida Paint and Body, the premier paint and body shop in Florida. I believe that. And I know that because over the years, you know, I've wrecked a few cars, and I've sent hundreds of people to his business and always, never disappointed. So I took my car to Frank, and he did the work, of course, and his team did. And he said, now, Bobby said, this is a strange color. I'm going to tell you, I don't know if I can match this color or not. So, Bob, for you, and the point of this is not to belabor it or carry on, but it's a great story worth listening to. The front clip of your car, as it is with every car made today, and the back clip of your car doesn't match the rest of the car anyway, because the car is painted in the factory, in the paint room building, in a building with the doors on it. But the front and rear clips are not painted in the factory. They're painted off-site, and they're built for that car off-site, and they come together later, but they're shipped, and they actually come into the factory in a semi that uses like a roller coaster. It has like a rail, and the parts just come around the rail, and they roll off of the semi. They don't have to pick them up on pallets. The tires are the same way. Tires and wheels are the same way, and they all end up on the assembly line coming together. And as the body itself, the bare body of the car with the doors on it is painted, so they all match. Then it comes from the paint building into the assembly line. The doors are then popped off. You know, there's little pins. They pull the pins, and the doors go up to the rails to the door build. And the door build, which means the leathers, the color of the leathers, the window switches, the options, all that to match that car. In my car, special wood, special leathers, all that to match the rest of that car are built. And then the last thing that's put on the car, all next to the last thing, are the doors as it come back down. They come back down from the other part of the factory. So that's kind of a long conversation, but it's experiences that I've had and I know. So the bottom line is Frank painted and his team painted the front clip of my car. Nobody knows that. I know it. Does it match perfectly? No, it doesn't, but it matches as well as the back clip that's never been bumped. So that's what I say to you. Enjoy the car, do the touch-up. It's not going to match, and then in 3 or 4 years, take it to a quality body shop and have them pull the front clip and paint it. It's going to cost you about $500. Not to repair anything, just to pull the clip and paint it, and make sure that you make sure that no paint is performed on your vehicle on the car. You pull that clip and you strip all the goods off of it, any chrome or any headlights or anything, and you paint it as the factory did off the car, a standalone piece, and then reassemble it. So anyway, any questions?
Just one.
All right.
If you were going to try one of these little matchup paint things, would you buy? Because I've talked to a company that makes car paint.
Right.
And would you go with a paint that already has the clear coat in it, or would you go with the basic primary color that's supposed to match the car?
Well, the paint, all the paint's going to have some clear coat in it because it has to have some carrier. I mean, it starts out as clear and are different colors, but here's what I would do. When you say a company, I would go to a local quality paint and body shop there in New York. Okay, that's number one. Then you can find out who the dealer uses, or if the dealer doesn't have a paint and body shop. These days, all paint for any kind of body repair is electronically weighed and created anyway, so the color match is really good. So you don't have to go to an outside entity to order paint online. You go to a local person and get a bottle of touch-up paint. Now, okay, so they got to make a quart at the time. So buy a quart. You'll never use it, but you'll have it, and then of that quart, make sure that they mix and they give you a little bottle applicator. Or you can go to the dealer and Ford sells touch-up paint. Will it match? No, but any paint you get's not going to match anyway. And then you go through the steps that I talked about, and it's worked for me to a point. But if you're like me, ultimately it's better to paint the whole thing. Anyway, thanks for your call, and for those of you who have other questions, give us a call, 888-227. Thanks, Bob. Have a great day, and good luck on your paint project. I'm Bobby Likis. Stay tuned, folks. I'll be back to take your calls. We recently sat down with Kate Searlick, Global Product Management Lead with Johnson Controls. Kate talked about the advantages of AGM batteries, noting they outperform traditional flooded batteries when partially charged, a key benefit if your normal driving consists of shorter trips. Let's hear from Kate.
Today's charging systems are not negatively affected by installing an AGM battery, and no modifications are needed for the alternator or the charging system. In fact, an AGM battery actually performs better when partially charged than a standard flooded battery. This means if you're not driving long enough distances to fully charge the battery, an AGM battery more efficiently performs and not consume additional power from the alternator. We were able to validate this in fleet testing we conducted in Las Vegas, where we witnessed AGM batteries providing up to twice the service life of a standard flooded battery.
AGM batteries help meet the electrical demands put on today's vehicles, and Johnson Controls is the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries. Learn more at autobatteries.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. And an opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, folks, brought to you in part by Berryman Products and their B33 engine degreaser. Featuring a proprietary blend of high-performance detergents and emulsifiers, the Berryman B33 engine degreaser easily penetrates road grime and dirt and grease and oil, and you can clean your engine to your specifications and to mine as well. Learn more at berrymanproducts.com. We'll take your calls at 888-227-2546. An announcement, as you may have heard recently, we just partnered with Ford Motor Company, and I'm really proud of that. And I say partnered, FordParts.com and the Ford Professional Service Network, which is the FordPSN.com site. It's a great partnership for independent shops, which enables us to offer parts for your Ford or Lincoln that are OEM parts. We buy the same part. I'm excited about this, of course, from Ford Parts, professional parts, as the Ford dealer does. So that means that when a Ford or a Lincoln comes into the service department here at Car Clinic Service, and we need a radiator or a water pump or an intake manifold or a transmission, heaven forbid, but that happens, we can go right there online and buy it. It's a one-stop shop and the brands for you to remember are Motorcraft, along with the Ford parts and the Ford accessories, and Omnicraft parts, which is a new initiative for Ford. Well, not so new, a couple, 3 years in the making. And Omnicraft parts is a complete OE catalog of Ford parts for other brand makes of cars as well. So that's a reward there for us for using, and that reward is also shared with you, our customers, because it allows us to do the job right the first time, and it has backed by national warranty, even across the nation. So you can set up on the FordParts.com site, like if a fleet, you can do a parent-child relationship using My Buyers, and that allows you to share your purchase information and history with other users. It's great for fleets, as I said. Find it, buy it, and get back to work. That's the slogan for FordParts.com. Your calls at 888-227-2546. Let's look at gas prices. $2.67. Looking for the highest cost on the West Coast. $3.45. But here's the significance of the current gas prices. I have the gas price for a week ago, and I have the gas prices for this same time last year. Now, a week ago, the gas prices were all higher than they are this week. So every segment, the East Coast, New England, the Central Atlantic, Lower Atlantic, the Midwest, the Gulf Coast, Rocky Mountain, and then California, plus the rest of the West Coast, are all lower price gasoline than they were this time last week. And ironically, and this is usually not the case, with the exception of the West Coast, but including California, all of the same areas have a lower gas price than this time last year. So the significance of the week is really, to me, not a big deal, because that's a ever-evolving, ever-changing cost there of gasoline. But for it to be lower than it was this time last year is a significance. Now, I'm not sure that, in fact, I am sure, when this report comes out from the government site that I get automatically, I will bet you that, and to mark my word here, this is the 22nd of June. Next week, we're going to see higher prices because of the drone that was shot down by Iran, which is the Hormuz, the Straits of Hormuz, where all the ships go through that have all the crude. So I'll bet you, and we'll make a bet here. Fabio, you want to bet? How much you want to bet?
25 million.
Okay, too rich for my blood. Okay, I'll take it. All right, I'll bet you a day off. How about that?
I'll take it.
yeah, he's going to be off anyway. So you already won that bet, right? Yeah. Well, Jonathan's he'll be running the board there, so we'll be in good hands. So we'll say that the next week, so it'll be what, the 29th or 22nd? Yeah, 29th. So next week's folks, we're going to find out what the gas price was. Remember, $2.67 is the national average as we speak. $2.67, and that's lower than it has been for all year. Now, I've got a pretty good chance of winning this because of obvious the politics involved, and also normally you don't see this average price lower, and we're talking about same time last year because the week is either way. So we'll just compare it. But I'm seeing all green here on my sheet, except for one tick of one red. Red's higher price, green's lower price. And this is one of the few times, for those of you who watch Bobby Live, this is one of the few times that I've seen this report where the U.S. regular gasoline prices. Last week we also, Stan Adams, who is a good friend of ours and an avid listener and for Car Clinic, sent me the information about top tier gasoline. And so we got into conversations with that, and several of you who listened, tuned in, called in, and we talked about top tier gasoline. And I have that. I have that right here because there was some information on this top tier gasoline test by the American Automobile Association, by AAA, that I want to share with you. So is top tier gasoline, worth it? So there were some photos on this site, and the photos were of intake valve comparison showing a new valve compared to the results from a 100-hour engine test. Remember this, 100-hour engine test. So for its test, the lab operated an engine continuously for 100 hours on a cycle to represent 4,000 real miles of use. What is wrong with that statement? Fabio, can you fathom a guess? Folks, let me hear from you. 888-227-2546. And this is not a trick question, but what is wrong with this statement? For its test to determine the benefit of top-tier gasoline. Not that there's not a benefit. There's a benefit. But for this test, AAA, the lab operated an engine continuously for 100 hours on a cycle to represent 4,000 real miles of use. And then they said that there was, let's see what their results were. They had a percentage, and I don't know where that percentage is, so I won't bore you with that, except to say that there was a percentage in the 30 to 40% range of cleaner valves by using top-tier gasoline. Now, number one, let's talk about what I have issues with this test. And I don't know who AAA used to make the test, but as it stated, for its test, the lab operated its 400 continuous 100 hours. Well, folks, running an internal combustion engine continuously without cold startups or cool downs or overnight stands like you normally use your car is not real world testing. That's why highway cruising is not considered severe driving, whereas city stops is considered, and overnight stands is considered severe driving. I don't know if you knew that or not. You say, well, I drive my car just around town. I don't really drive it severely. Well, driving a car continuously from here to California in one fell swoop, even with overnight stands, but you're driving what, 500 miles a day, whatever. Let's just say you drive 500 miles a day, 400 miles a day, and then you've driven to 3,500, 4,000 miles on that engine. Well, that's not the same as driving 4,000 miles, because it might take you, for me, it takes me 5 months to drive 4,000 miles. And as a result, I'm only driving, what's that, 80 miles a day or so, or 8 miles or 20 miles a day, and I can turn my car off. So every night my car is hot, cools down, hot, cools down. That means it builds a layer of carbon on the intake valve every time I put it to bed at night. All engines do. And especially, then here's the fallacy in this test. And again, it's not about top tier. It's about the fact that they were trying to get the best photos possible, my opinion. And I'm not sure who, as I said, AAA contacted to perform this test, but let me be specific. Continuous RPM, continuous normalized engine loads without wide open throttle, continuous normal oil temperature, zero cool downs, zero cold starts are the main items that this test, that's why it doesn't work for me. It's not used in this test, and quite candidly, the test is invalid. So I'm not against top-tier gasoline. It's great, but if you're going to test something, you know, it's like the EPA and the Monroney sticker on your car. The Monroney sticker is a new car sticker, and I think the Senator Monroney from New Jersey is who was the driving force, and my memory not serve me correct there, but I think it was from New Jersey. He was from New Jersey. He's the one that really came out with the new car stickers. And then they evolved, and to where now they tell you they don't sell cars by the miles per gallon. It's the emissions per pound per year. It's all about emissions. That's why EVs will prevail and will stay with us and continue to grow because of the emissions. That's why so many manufacturers all the manufacturers are building EVs, because when they have EVs that are zero emission from that vehicle, then they get points, they get credits. So, you know, like making small spec cars, which are like just a tick under the rental cars, you know, those little small cars that have the smallest four-cylinder and cloth seats and sometimes no power windows, certainly no options. The manufacturers can make a lot of those, and they get a lot of credits because they get 35, 40 miles, 50 miles per gallon, and then they can make the big trucks, and those F-250s and those Silverados that get 16 miles per gallon, and you know, and offset and get credits for that vehicle. So it's being the sales. A lot of it's all about gasoline. But it was the government's idea to create top-tier gasoline and to mandate that the refineries add an additive that makes a cleaner burning fuel. And I'll close in saying that with the top tier, although this AAA test, if you want to call it that, shows a significant cleaner valve, well, I dare to say that any engine that is run for 100 hours or the simulated 4,000 miles of road testing will be in better shape than a same engine that has been stop started, overnight stands, and what have you. It is not rocket science, and so I have, as I said, I have an issue. So I get off of that now. You know, you've heard enough about that, but I just had to share that with you because I didn't get a chance last week to finish that whole part. But I do want to share that next weekend I'm giving away a Super Chips Flash Pack. It's a tuner. It's designed to deliver, and does, more horsepower. It'll maximize the horsepower in your engine, and it can also help you save MPG if you can keep that right foot out of the accelerator, of course. The Super Chips tuner loads onto the performance programmers are engineered to modify, and here's how they work. It modifies the ignition spark timing and the fuel. And it can even serve to optimize the burn cycle of the vehicle's engine for maximum efficiency. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means that you tune the engine to more power and more torque and more horsepower. And you say, well, why don't the manufacturers do that? Because they can't. They always leave a lot under the hood because they have to meet emissions controls and severe emission controls specifically for all cars. So if you were making a one-off, Z1 Corvette or a mid-engine Corvette, which I can't wait to drive one of those, if you're making one of those and you tuned it to specifics, you could find out where that fine line was to where you could build the maximum horsepower and the maximum torque and still meet the emissions. But if you're making 50,000 of them, you can't reach that fine line, because one or two of those 50,000 would be out of the fine line. Then you'd be into that VW emissions wars that you couldn't afford to pay, even if you're an OEM. So to play it safe and to make sure that the massive cars that were built, you tune the engine from the factory, you being the OEMs, the car makers of the cars that we buy, they're tuned to meet emissions requirements, not for performance, not for gas mileage, and not for torque. Now, whether you like that or not, that's a fact. And that's why the Super Chips Flash Pack can tune, and it can tune Ford, Chevy, GM, Jeep, and Chrysler cars, because those are the most common and those are the things. So next week I'm going to give away one of these. It's a beautiful, even comes a 2-year powertrain warranty. It's called Super Chips Flash Pack, so you make sure you tune in next week. And folks, that's about all the time that I have for today. Remember, if you're like Tom in California with his Ford Taurus, make sure you use Motorcraft parts for all your repair maintenance needs. And for close to 5 decades, the Motorcraft name has stood for durability and quality. Motorcraft. Check it out, FordParts.com. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Today's Repair Spotlight is for gasoline-powered engines with 60,000 plus miles. At this age and high mileage, vehicles can develop irritating small oil leaks that can make a mess and ultimately cause serious damage to engine and chassis components. The solution? Berryman's B60 High Mileage Oil System Rejuvenator. It's simple to use and safe for engine components like catalytic converters and oxygen sensors. Berryman B60 High Mileage Oil System Rejuvenator cleans and protects the crankcase and engine oil system on all gas-powered vehicles, and conditions and revitalizes seals and gaskets to help stop oil leaks. Berryman B60 High Mileage Oil System Rejuvenator contains zinc-based ZDDP and molybdenum moly to help fight friction, heat, and wear. It helps prevent sludge formation to maximize engine performance and life. Don't put up with those pesky oil leaks. Add some Berryman B60 to your motor oil and add another level of protection for your engine. Learn more about Berryman B60 and other great products at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, And by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Count down to 1 minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning, folks. Welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Right along with me, and we'll talk cars. I'll share with you some information that you just can't get anywhere else, and I'll answer your car questions to the best of my ability and help you to better understand the nature of the beast or the beauty that you drive. Sometimes it can be a beauty, I know, and sometimes a beast. Most often, and we call this in our service shop here along the Gulf Coast of Florida, which is where this program originates, from the center of the automotive universe. You know, Miss Manners, your car runs like Miss Manners when you bring it in, but it runs like, Attila the Hun for you. That ever happened to you? I'll bet. Hannah will take your call at 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. Put you in the queue and I'll put you on the air. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by Motorcraft. OE approved specs and performance for all your Ford and Lincoln repair parts. Motorcraft, the right part, priced right. You can learn more at motorcraft.com. That's motorcraft.com. And you can answer your questions, I can, at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. Interesting first hour. We got into a conversation about touch-up paints and fuels and those sorts of things. So this hour, I'm going to leave it up to you and see what direction you'd like to go. Give me a call at 888-227-2546. I'll be back. Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A, brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Why is the thermostat so important? Cooling system regulates engine temperature and helps prevent overheating. While it's comprised of several components, the thermostat plays a critical role with efficient cooling system operation. It must regulate coolant flow properly to maintain a specific engine operating temperature, in addition to providing quick warm-up. Motorrad's new stainless steel thermal element UltraStat is unmatched for corrosion resistance. Its revolutionary Reax wax mixture provides quicker reaction time. The UltraStat also features bilinear valve technology, which prevents thermal shock to cooling system components, gradually increasing coolant flow versus instant maximum flow found in traditional thermostats. The UltraStat precisely controls engine temperature to ensure the lowest emission standards, maximum fuel efficiency, and terrific interior cabin comfort. The Motorrad UltraStat line is the perfect thermostat upgrade option with coverage for over 160 million vehicles on the road today. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service. We recently had an 09 Honda Pilot come into the shop with 169,000 miles on the odometer. The vehicle owner said the cabin was starting to smell like coolant, and he was concerned. Upon closer inspection, we found a heater core leak. Choices were to keep the vehicle and make a repair, which at best is half a day's labor plus parts, or sell the vehicle and buy a different used car that could have its own set of problems. We presented a third option, K-Seal. You've heard me talk about K-Seal before. Well, I don't just talk about it, we actually use the product in our service shop. It's a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Other sealers use sodium silicate, which has the tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. Our customer went with K-Seal, and 1 month later, no more leak. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started. 888-227-2546. Miss Hannah will take your call, put you in the queue, and I will answer your questions, put you on the air. Let's go to New York and take a call from Jim. Jim, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you for holding. You're first in, so you're first up. What can I do for you today?
Okay, yes, I have a 2005 Taurus wagon.
Okay.
I've got a code, P0462, fuel level sensor, A circuit, low input.
Okay.
I just put a new fuel pump in it this morning. I thought that would take care of it. My gas gauge doesn't work half the time, and it says fuel comp air below it on my dash when that comes on.
Now,
when my gas gauge does work, that fuel comp will go out and it'll tell me how many miles I have left in the tank of gas.
I got you. So let me ask a question. The fuel pump you replaced, you're talking about you replaced the bucket assembly, right?
Correct, everything. Yeah, the sending unit, the fuel pump.
Okay. Prior, how much fuel was in the tank, roughly, when did you have to drop the tank?
Yes, had to drop the tank. About 4 gallons were in it.
Oh, so you knew ahead of time. You ran it down. Yeah. Hey, that's good. That's really great of you. I wish our customers would do that when they have the same issue. So here's what I have to ask now. Do you know, and can you say whether or not the behavior of the gauge has changed whatsoever when you changed the sender unit, which is included in the bucket in the fuel pump?
Since I've changed it, I just started driving it. I probably drove it 20 miles, and it has not came back on to tell me how much fuel I have or my gauge isn't working. Other times I might start it up before I change the fuel pump, and the gauge would work fine, and it would tell me how much.
But wait.
I changed it, come on.
But Jim, you change. Okay, so all that it's erratic behavior. So you put a new fuel pump assembly, which includes all the wires and all that, in the fuel tank, and then now you've only driven it 20 miles since you put it back together. Is that correct?
Correct.
And how much fuel is in it now? Same.
I just went and got gas. I put in another probably 7 gallons.
Okay, and anticipating you may have to pull it back apart. Now, my question to you is, did the gauge change its behavior from the time you pulled the tank apart this morning or yesterday or whenever and today?
Again, since I put the new one in, the gauge is not showing anything.
Well, but it showed something before. It was just erratic, right?
Sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't. I might drive half the day before it come on and show me, and I might start the next time, and it's working fine.
Well, here's the challenge with that. When you have electronics that are erratic, then that indicates that you've got either a circuit that's failing, and in this case, you have three controllers here, or there's no only common denominator is what you've already replaced, the gauge in the dash cluster itself, and the body control module. And the body control module is all part of that mix because it fires up and sends voltage to the dash cluster. Having said that, if everything else is status quo, and that means that would tell me that it's not the body control module, but it could be the dash unit itself. I think that there's two ways, and the reason I kind of hesitate is to tell you two things you need to do. You need to put more miles on it and drive it. You know how much gas it takes and what kind of gas mileage it gets, so you don't have to worry about running out of gas. You need to drive it so you can determine whether or not your actions made a difference or not. And I say this because we put a fuel tank in a what kind of car is yours?
Oh, it's wagon.
Okay, we put a fuel pump bucket in an Expedition, a Ford Expedition, because it had extended crank times. So we thought that, well, it's losing its prime and the fuel pump's leaking back down. And that did not fix the car. We continued to work on that car at our expense for 2 more weeks, off and on, because it belonged to a young single parent lady, and she was concerned not that it had extended long cranks, but that it wouldn't start and put her down. So we, on our nickel, replaced various and sundry other parts. Ultimately, this is a fact, it was a Ford part that was replaced, the part that we put in that vehicle, and it had the same symptom. Now, it could have been just one of those gotchas. It could have been a defective part, which it was. But it was original. The fact that we fixed this vehicle after 2 weeks of searching, because we'd already put a pump in it, and we put another pump in it, but we used a Ford pump assembly, and that fixed the problem. I'll never forget that. So I say to you, it's possible that you have the same situation, but before I would condemn the bucket you put in, I think that you need to put more miles so that you can determine if that made any difference in the behavior of the gauge. If the gauge is still come saw, if it's still erratic in behavior, then you'll know that unit didn't change the fact at all, and you know you're going to have to look elsewhere. And that's when I would say that you would go to a shop and have them run a professional test on the gauge with a professional scan tool. That's what you got to have. Any questions?
My question is, yes, when I changed it, see, my check engine light came right back on, and like I said in the code, said fuel level sensor A circuit low input. And the light came back on. I just got a cheap scan tool. I erased it, and it came right back on
Well, that
again.
tells me that's good, because that's a hard failure. That's a hard failure. And a hard failure here's the difference. A soft failure is where you have a light bulb in your home, and it works, and then you flip it, and sometimes it doesn't, and then sometimes it does. But you never know when. But a hard failure is when the bulb's burned out or the switch is bad on the wall, and then it doesn't work, it never works. So now you're in a situation to where you may not have to drive another, you put 7 gallons of gas, it didn't work, it still shows low. So that tells me that circuit is not working. It doesn't tell me the gauge is bad. It tells me that you could have a bad connector or a bad ground, and I suspect that ultimately that's where it's going to be. I don't really think the gauge, I just don't see that many gauges go bad in the dash. It's a protected environment compared to all that wiring down under the car and on top of the fuel tank. So what I would do if I were you is, well, I don't know, I'm not sure that you can take it from here. I think you've done all you can do, except you might, just for grins, can you reach the plug without pulling the tank again?
No.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's sucks.
I wondered if there was a different sensor somewhere that could change. There's no other sensor that would make that come up?
No, but there could be, and there probably are, couplers where the male-female wires are plugged together, and that's where you need a wiring diagram. Here's what I want you to do. I got other calls. I can't fix the car over the air, but go to asashop.org, and look for shops in your neighborhood, and then make a couple of phone calls and tell them that and ask the shop if they have a wiring diagram for your 05 Taurus, and if so, invest 1 hour of test time for them to test whatever wiring and whatever, and read not a code necessarily, but they will read the code, and then they'll see, they'll give you a better sense of direction to go from there. Okay, that's what I would do next. Got it?
Got it.
All right. Good luck. Let me know what works, Jim. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And let's go back to, let's take a call from the gentleman who says, why is my transmission so bad? It's got a 2017. So let's go to line 5 and see exactly why. So number one, your name, please.
Brennan.
I'm sorry, I did not understand.
Brennan. B-R-E-N-N-A.
Oh, okay.
You talked to me before.
Oh, okay, Brennan. And you got a.
It's on my 2015 tracks.
Okay, let me ask. Okay, let me ask you a question. Are you using a speakerphone?
Yes, right now I am.
Cannot understand you, and neither can anybody else across the country. You got to get off the speakerphone and get on the line.
Okay, hold on a second. I can do that.
I mean, otherwise, folks, you wouldn't know a darn thing he said. Okay, all right.
Okay, that's better.
Oh, yeah, that's much better. Hey, I got you. Hey, it's a revelation here. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you now to hold, because we got a hard break coming up. But let's set the stage for everyone else. And I see Jesse's on the line and Dennis as well from California and New York. So, Brandon, you're going to stay right there. We're going to come back after the break. You've got a 2017 Chevrolet, and 16, and you don't like the transmission, right?
No, it's the transmission went out on me the other day with no warning whatsoever.
Wow. How many miles on it?
83.
83,000?
Mm-hmm.
What year is it?
2015.
2015. Okay. Stay right there. We'll come back and we'll talk about that. That seems not right. Something's not right about that. When we come back, we'll find out. We'll dive in there. In the service bay this week, a longtime customer's 2000 Ford Taurus. He'd been complaining about a humming noise at highway speeds and grinding when he stopped. With 55,000 miles on the odometer, the driver's had the vehicle since new and never had any work done. No brakes, no suspension. A thorough inspection revealed a number of potential problems: a failing left front wheel bearing, worn-out rear brake pads and rotors, and the beginnings of a leaking brake caliper. Our choice to solve these problems? Motorcraft. Brake systems and suspension repair represent serious work you want done right the first time. Choosing quality parts is critical to ensuring vehicle reliability and longevity. Motorcraft quality brake and suspension parts are engineered for Ford and Lincoln vehicles. From the hub to the rotor, calipers, brake pads, and wheel bearings, Motorcraft quality parts provide you with the stopping power and stability needed for your vehicle. Learn more about Motorcraft brake and suspension parts at motorcraft.com. That's motorcraft.com. Motorcraft, right part, priced right. We recently performed a major service on a 1996 F-150. The vehicle had just under 200,000 miles on it. In addition to fluids and filters, we changed the spark plugs and boots, performed a cooling system flush, and replaced the thermostat, hoses, and drive belts. After a few weeks, the owner noticed a small leak coming from the area where the transmission bolted onto the block. Using a pressure tester, we found that coolant was seeping from one of the freeze plugs at the rear of the engine. This repair would require several hours of labor and another few days or so in the shop. Given the truck's age and the fact it was just in the shop for service, we suggested K-Seal, a one-step permanent multi-purpose system for coolant leak repair that won't clog radiators or heater cores. K-Seal stops leaks and can also prevent future leaks. After driving the truck for a week, the owner called and let us know the leak had stopped. K-Seal's available at fine retailers everywhere, like O'Reilly Auto Parts. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip.
From Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. 888-227-2546 is the number for you to call. Well, I was going to go back to Brandon, but I see we lost him. So we'll take a call from California. And Brandon, if you're still tuned in, feel free to call back in. Sometimes the phones drop. Dennis, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic from California.
Hi, how you doing?
Terrific. How about yourself?
Oh, just doing great.
I'll tell you what, you sure do have a nice telephone line there. What a difference it makes. That gentleman that called in, we couldn't understand the thing he said, but he's calling back now, I'm sure. What can I do for you?
Yeah, I have a '85 Toyota 4Runner, and it seems like it surges, like it's running out of gas. And I'm just wondering if it could be the fuel pump or is it the O2 sensor?
Oh, you can't approach it in that way. You can't. There, you have to test it. It's like going to a doctor and say I got chest pain, and he says, "Oh, you need open heart surgery." Wait a minute, don't you want to test me first? So you can't. You can't. You shouldn't do this. My suggestion in my years of experience, if you predetermine any particular item on your car, you will stand the chance of wasting money, wasting time, and then ultimately not fix your car and ultimately have to go to a professional. And the more you fix on your own car or replace, the less likely the shop is going to want to work on your car. I know, I've been there, I've done that. We actually created a first choice customer policy so that if you don't make us your first choice for repair, we don't work on your car. And we have found that, and so I don't want you to, I'm trying to protect you, Dennis, from you, Dennis. And so it's not a question of, especially being an 85 model automobile, there's a litany of issues that could be. Unfortunately, there's no check engine light or there's no OBD2 known quality computer on that car. It's just, what's it doing that you don't like? Just misfiring or does it shut down?
No, I mean, it runs. I mean, I can start it up,
okay.
But it's like when you go into gear, it surges. But I can depress on the clutch,
right, and then
it'll sit there and it'll run normal.
And so when you try to accelerate away from a stoplight, does it misfire or what does it tell me what it does, or is it just cruising down the road?
It doesn't. I think it doesn't matter where it is. I mean, even cruising down the road, it surges like it's running out of gas.
Well, running out of gas would be where it just it died and then it picked back up, and surging would be where it misfires and like a fish nibble. So it's more like a fish nibbling on like a bob in the water, or what?
Yeah. Basically, yeah, it does. It
okay.
Surges.
Okay, surges. Okay, it's fish nibble, or is it off on off? You gotta distinguish the two before I can tell you next.
No, it's be or fish nibble. I mean,
okay, all right. Okay, that's fine. Then that tells me that it's a multiple cylinder fire. It's not likely not a fuel supply from the fuel pump, because you would have a loss of power or throttle response altogether versus fish nibble. And fish nibble comes from spontaneous multiple misfires of the engine, and especially in your era car. Okay, so you got a pen? Write this down.
Yes, sir.
EGR needs to be replaced or removed, cleaned, and reinstalled. Throttle body 85. Not a Ford truck, is it?
No, it's a Toyota.
Oh, it's a Toyota. Okay, so it's got a throttle. Okay, so all right. Here's the easiest, shortest thing for me to do. I want you to go to O'Reilly Auto Parts, and I want you to buy Berryman B12 Chem Tool, and I want you to add that to 3/4 of a tank of gasoline. And I don't want you to use high octane gasoline. I want you to use the lowest denominator you can find. Just the lowest, I say lowest, the lowest octane, which is 87. So you put a bottle of Berryman B12 Chem Tool in there, and then you drive it until that gasoline is out, that 3/4 of a tank of fuel it has run through, and then you call me back and let me know if that has changed the way it runs, because you got an 85 model automobile. I have a lot of experience with those vehicles, and I can tell you, you don't start replacing parts until you try the easy path first. It's always best to go the easy path first, especially when the other could cost you and cost you and cost you, and you still would not remove some of the inherent bad behavior that the car was made with, because in the mid-'80s, the manufacturers were dealing with emissions controls, and they didn't have the right stuff. And that's why they went in '86 to the fuel injection and what have you. And your car has injectors, but it's not the same as today. So that's what I would suggest that you do. You got it?
Yep. It's go to O'Reilly, get a Berryman B12 Chem Tool.
That's it. Let me know when it works. Call me next week or 2 weeks. Call me and try it on 3/4 of a tank. Yeah, run that tank out. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I was just saying. So it's got a 1/4 tank of gas in it right now.
Well, good. Put a half a tank more and add the Berryman B12 Chem Tool, and don't do anything else to that car except drive it, and don't take it out on the highway and run it until you run the gas out. Drive it normally around town so that you have overnight stands to give the chemical time to dissolve the layers of carbon that I know are on the EGR valve and on the valves and etc. And let's see what that does for you, and then we'll take the next logical step. But in the meantime, you haven't spent any real money, and you haven't bought these parts that you were thinking of to start with. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, that's why I call you. I listen to you every weekend. So.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis. Let me know. I expect to hear from you in a couple of weeks.
You betcha, sir.
Bye-bye. I wish people would have been that straightforward with me. I'd still have the full use of my right arm. Anyway, but that's another story. Let's take a call from who's next. Brandon. Oh, he's back. Hola. So, Brandon, welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Anyway, my 2015 Chevy Trax.
Okay.
I talked to you about it before.
Right.
And it's a good car. It's just the other day I was on I-4 turning onto I-75 South, and the dang thing started revving high and losing power, and all of a sudden wouldn't shift.
It has been...
Pulled it over, put it in park. No lights, no nothing. Put it in park. The light came on all of a sudden, and that was it. I had to idle it for about an hour and 45 minutes before the tow truck got there. But then another problem occurred, and I had a huge puddle of oil in front of the car.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, what's common about that? All right, we know that the transmission fluid leaves the transmission and goes to the radiator, where there's an independent cooler within the radiator that it cools the fluid. Now, you'd think, well, it's going to heat the fluid because the radiator is 210 degrees or 240, but it still helps to warm up the fluid, and also helps to make sure that the transmission fluid doesn't exceed 240 degrees or so. Now, having said that, the common denominator would be the lines that connect the transmission to the radiator. So, has a shop inspected this vehicle yet?
No, the guy's still on vacation, and he won't be back till Monday.
Okay, so I'm going to hope for you, but because and it makes sense here that you've got a pressure line. Well, it's not much of a pressure, 30 psi. You've got a transmission cooler hose or connection at the radiator or en route between the transmission and the radiator that has burst, and you dumped all the transmission fluid, and without fluid it ain't going to work. So you may have not a transmission failure after all, depending on how hard you pushed it when it was running low on fluid, if it was running low on fluid, and it sounds like it was by your description. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand, but there was no sign, no lights, no nothing. It just bucked twice and died.
Well, yeah, but if it blew a hose, that's what it would do. It would spit out its fluid, and it would enough fluid that it wouldn't pick up. And so it wouldn't have to lose but 4 or 5 quarts. It wouldn't have to lose about 3 quarts before you start noticing some erratic behavior. So let's look at the optimistic side, Brandon. I think that without making any condemnations of the vehicle, or really, saying you got a bad transmission, which is without testing can't be done, shouldn't be done. So let's wait and see what your technician says Monday when he calls. And in the meantime, I guess the car is at the shop and you're already in another vehicle, right?
Yeah, I'm in a loaner right now.
Yeah.
But it wasn't transmission fluid that leaked out. It was oil.
How do you know?
Because it was brown.
Well, that doesn't mean anything. Transmission.
It smelled like oil. It didn't smell like transmission.
Well, that transmission fluid is not red and shiny and pretty. It's brown, and it don't. You're assuming that it's engine oil. Did you check the engine oil level?
No, I didn't have a chance. The tow truck just wanted to get me out of there.
I think you got to chill out and wait till Monday.
It also threw a code 0700 and 2714.
Well, you didn't say that. But still, you got to wait till Monday. So I can't, have a good weekend. That's all I can tell you because I'm not going to say you got a transmission issue. Hopefully you don't. Let's see what the technician says on Monday, and you call me next week and give me the rest of the story. You got it?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Good luck. And it is tough. It is tough. But, folks, maybe it's not as bad. 888-227-2546, 888. So I see that Ted is in the queue and Jesse from New York, and we do have a hard break coming up, so I'm not going to take your questions or your calls because I don't want to interrupt our conversation during a break. And by the way, just an update for you. Are you familiar with Clarios, Clarios? You will be, because Johnson Controls, the automotive, JCI, has been acquired by Clarios. And so they're in the battery business, to say the least. And I just learned this, which is unbelievable when you really think about it. Thanks to Clarios and their manufacturing plants, which they have some, 54 plants worldwide, distribution centers. Get this, folks, 1 in 3 cars worldwide have a Clarios battery, or a Johnson Control as acquired by 1 in 3 worldwide. It's a huge company. A little more when I come back, and I'll take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. Don't go away. Talking tunes? No, not the ones on your radio, the ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer, giving you more power, more torque, and a better overall driving experience. We recently sat down with Jim McGinn, Vice President of Marketing for Power Tech. Jim touched on the role a tuner plays when adding an intake or exhaust system.
Anytime you add an intake or an exhaust system, it's important to make sure that you have a tune equipped to help those hard parts work well together on your vehicle. The magic and beauty of the Diablo Sport tuners and the Reaper Stage 1 kits are that you get an air-fuel mixture that is already designed and engineered for the particular setup that you may be running to electronically compensate for the intake and the exhaust on your vehicles. Diablo Sport Jammer intake tunes make tuning easy anytime you add an intake or an exhaust.
Whether it's the Predator, the Intune i3, or the Trinity 2, you can find the perfect tune at DiabloSport.com. That's DiabloSport.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Let's take a call from Jesse in New York. Jesse, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house. Jesse? I know he's there. Jesse?
Good morning, Bob. How you doing this morning?
I'm great. How about yourself?
Doing great. Doing great here in Wego. Nice and shiny.
Oh, Wego, New York. Oh, a lot of great people there. You know, we know the story. And hey, folks, for those of you who don't know the story, I took a race car up to Wego, New York, and where did I race, Jesse?
Shangri-La Speedway.
Yep, Shangri-La Speedway. And I will tell you, we didn't win. We weren't even in the category, but we didn't know what they ran. They had, little 4-cylinders, and we had 4-cylinders, but they had open wheel cars and like Indy 500 cars, and we had a Pinto which was on a tube chassis. But it was a great experience because the people were so nice. They were. I was absolutely just that night at the hotel before the race, and then at the track, everyone there was just over the top. I don't know what I was expecting, but I can tell you, Southern hospitality lives in Owego, New York. That I know. Now, let's talk about your car question.
All right, you got it. In the morning, my transmission, when it's cold, I can drive like 5-6 miles an hour, and it like downshift and surges, and every once in a while, I almost hit a car. But it goes away. I checked the transmission fluid level. It's perfect. It's cherry red. But I'm like, it's got 80,000 miles on it. Would a transmission flush possibly be in order?
Well, yeah, I do mine at 35, no more than 50. So the answer to your question is yes. Do I think that's going to solve the problem? I do not. I think, because that transmission has electronic controllers, and inside the transmission, as best my memory serves me, I'm not sure of the year, but I believe that there are a printed circuit and circuit boards and solenoids that can cause this issue. So I think because ultimately I believe you're going to have to pull the pan, or at least the transmission shop or a certified ASE master technician. I'm not sure I would go to a transmission shop. I'd go to an ASE certified full service shop. And the reason I say that is because many transmission issues are created and caused by poor engine controls. Just like sometimes engine controls and engine malformities or misfires are because the transmission is not shifting correctly. But it's easier to discern if the engine doesn't run right because of bad transmission than it is for a transmission, what appears to be a transmission, and it's really caused by the engine. So I think the first thing for you to do, certainly consider the transmission fluid exchange. I'm on board with that. But first, I think you should go to a known quality ASE certified shop and if you have to leave the vehicle at night, which you will, and let that technician drive it first thing in the morning, which he or she will, then they can experience the problem and the complaint that you had, and then you'll decide, the two of you, what the best next step would be. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
That's
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, good. And by the way, don't take your car in on Thursday and leave it for Friday. Wait and take it in on Monday night. Call ahead and say, I'm going to bring my car before you close, 5 o'clock, whatever, and I want you to park it safe in a safe place, maybe outside, or if you park it outside or in?
I park it outside.
Okay, leave it outside. They'll have a safe place, and then I want your I do not want the service desk or anyone in the car care, customer care to help to drive it. I want the technician, and I'll tell you, I think you should talk to I want you to take the car in on Monday night, talk to the technician who's going to crank it and drive it Tuesday morning, and so that he can experience what your complaint is, and then feel it and go from there. You got it?
I got it.
Okay, my friend. Hey, thanks for your call and good luck. Let me know when you get to the other side.
You got it, Bob. You have a great weekend.
Thank you as well, Jesse. Let's go to South Carolina from New York. We hadn't heard from South Carolina today. So, Ted, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Welcome. I was going to say welcome to, I don't know what I was going to say, but it didn't come out right. Do you ever do that, Ted? Glad to have you join us.
Good morning, Bobby.
Good morning, sir. What can I do for you?
I have a car. It used to be my mother's. I guess you know the year and the model I told you.
Yes, a 90 Chevrolet, yeah, right.
And I'm having a problem with it, having its battery go down. And I've had it checked out at the shop, and they say I probably left something on. But I had the key in it all day Tuesday, and I'm thinking maybe because my ignition switch is beginning to wear out that I might be leaking some voltage through there somehow.
No, that's not. If as long as it's turned off, the key's turned off, it's not a big deal. That's not going to cause it. Did they check for parasitic draw? Or I mean, when I say check for parasitic draw, it means that they used an instrument to determine what voltage and what amperage was being pulled from the battery with everything off, and how many millivolts that would be. Do you know if they checked that, or they just said there's no?
I believe they did, but I'm not exactly sure.
Well, I'm not sure how that requires some expertise. The reason I know this is because we have in our community a lot of retired folks from military here in Florida, and we have a lot of automobiles, many automobiles that have come in here, and more than once, same car, same customer, with a similar problem because they don't drive often, and so I'm very familiar with draws. In fact, that's why we on some cars. In fact, this is a car right outside my door that we've installed an Optima digital battery charger, which is meant to be left on the car 24/7, 365, because it's not a trickle charger, it's a smart charger, so it will know when the battery is low. So I give you this information because you might be money ahead, or you will be money ahead, not to chase down some minuscule voltage drop. Well, first I guess I should ask, do you drive this car every day or not?
Nearly every day.
Well, then you shouldn't.
And the battery is just a little over it's about a year and a half old now.
Well, needs more testing. I mean, that's the bottom line. There's now, and also the battery that's in it can only be healthy once it has been charged for 4 hours at 10 amps.
Well, I put it on trickle charge overnight.
Okay. Then it
brought the meter down.
But of course it starts right when you got the trickle charge, correct?
Right.
Yeah. Well, you've got to make some decisions here. You just need more testing because I can't begin to tell you what would be causing that, issue, especially if you're driving the car regularly. But I would go back to the same test people and let them experience the problem. You're telling me that the battery was charged, and if you're telling me that if you don't use the trickle charger, the car won't start after a fashion.
Well, like I say, I had no problems with the key out of the ignition, but I had the key in the ignition that whole day, and I thought, well, maybe since it's beginning to be where when I have to start it, I have to jiggle the key or the steering wheel because of the tumblers. They're probably becoming relaxed.
Well, the tumblers are not electronic; they're mechanical, and the ignition switch is not where the ignition key is. So that's not it. That's your diagnosis or your thought, but that's wrong. So
I'm racking my brain and thinking what it could be.
Well, that's what shops are for. You got to go back. They got to do more testing. Don't use a trickle charger. Drive that car for 3 or 4 days. Leave the key out of it so you'll know it's not that, because it's not. And then drive it and let it sit for 3 days and see if it'll start. You got other cars, right?
Yeah, I can work out those situations.
Okay. All right. Give me more information the next time you call back using the conversation we had today. You got it?
Will do.
Thank you, Ted. I look forward to hearing from you again soon.
Yeah, I appreciate your show.
I appreciate your confidence, and I wish you all the best, and I expect to hear back in a week or so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ted. So, folks, that's sometimes patience. Well, I guess all the time, patience. I got to have it now. Patient. I want another call. Well, hey, look here. We got it. Connie, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, wonderful. I have a Hyundai Sonata. It's 16, and I just took it to the garage, and they said the battery is good. But my husband tells me that he has experience where the cars that showed the battery as good, that they had just quit all of a sudden after 2 years.
Right.
Do you think I need to change it even though they say it's okay?
I want you to do this. Hyundai has a new battery terminal with cables and wiring kit for that specific problem. And it being this battery terminal, there's a fuse, like a 70 amp fuse, a big one. There's a terminal. If you'll open the hood and look at the battery, which is on the driver's side, you'll see there's a black box bolted onto the battery. That black box is part of the wiring that came with that car, and that is a known issue, and you can buy that black box from a Hyundai dealer and have it have it installed. It's not a do-it-yourself project. You don't want your husband going there, because the harness goes down to the alternator and other parts, and it's a cable that goes to the alternator and the starter and to the battery. That is as I said, that's a known issue with your vehicle, and what you should do is have a technician lift the black cap and look at the condition of the terminal on the positive side, and to see if it's corroded and or otherwise not healthy. And you're going to find that it is. We had this very same issue not 2 months ago, and the reason it's so significant is because when my technician went over to look at this car that wouldn't start, that was towed in, said, "Bobby, come and look at this." It was a 2016 Hyundai. And I will tell you, I was shocked. It was so corroded. And I said, "Oh, let's clean the terminal." And, "Oh, wait, that black box has corrosion. Let's just get a new little black box." Well, lo and behold, you don't get one. You get the cables and the whole assembly, and then we also, in this car, replaced the battery because it was so corroded. Obviously, there was acid leaking, fumes up that causes corrosion. So I would put a battery in it, and I would put that battery terminal kit from Hyundai, and any Hyundai parts person will be able to provide that for you. You got it?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I should do that now. Would I have any trouble?
You should do that now and see if that's got the updated. There's a part number, and if it hasn't been done, you'll know it, and a technician can look at it in 2 seconds and say, "Oh yeah, this is bad." Good luck. Let me know what happens to you, Connie, and thank you for your confidence in your call.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome very much. Folks, here's interesting for you from O'Reilly, our partners at O'Reilly. And remember this promo, Summer 20. And it's SUMMER, then the number 20. And it's a 20% off of a $100 purchase. And you can spend more, of course, up to $50. But it's a great deal from our partners at O'Reilly Auto Parts. And I'll tell you another service that's a great deal. It's something to do with check engine lights, and the show gets wrapped around check engine lights quite often, and you should never ignore any kind of a warning light. To do so leads to not only safety issues but roadside breakdown, which are costly repairs, which, as we all know, these days are costly. So if your check engine light comes on, you can go to O'Reilly Auto Parts, and their professionals will scan the code for you and provide a list of possible fixes. Now, coming from an independent service shop owner for 48 years, you may find that strange because we do that as well. But here's the connection. Some codes may call for further testing. And if that happens, the O'Reilly Auto Parts professional will refer you to a professional technician. Therein lies your close connection, close by, in your hometown, to knowing who the best technician is, because trust me, when we buy parts from our parts vendors like O'Reilly Auto Parts, we establish a relationship, and that's a two-way relationship. Those countermen and women at O'Reilly Auto Parts understand who their best shops are, because they don't return, "Oh, this part wasn't good." They're doing the job right. I know, because we practice that every day. So I'm just saying to you that thanks to O'Reilly, that's a great insight and a great inroad for you to think about. Plus, you get 20% on the Summer 20 details, or online at O'ReillyAutoParts.com. Folks, that's about all the time that we have for today. And if you remember our calls from New York, the Ford Taurus that had an issue with the fuel pump, just remember that Motorcraft parts are what that car was built with. The Motorcraft has the DNA of the vehicle, and vice versa. They're approved, they're warranted, and they're great for performance for all Ford and Lincoln repairs. Check it out at motorcraft.com, or for you, perhaps, FordParts.com. All the time we have. Thank you for tuning in to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
O'Reilly. Looking for quality auto parts for your vehicle? Shop O'Reilly Auto Parts. You'll find convenient locations, thousands of brand name parts in stock, extended store hours, everyday low prices, and well-trained professional parts people. Come see for yourself at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Repairing a coolant leak can be costly and typically happens to older vehicles that may not be worth the expensive fix. K-Seal is an alternative, a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Older sealers use sodium silicate, which has the tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. K-Seal is available nationwide at parts stores like AutoZone. Learn more at kseal.com. That's kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma